Hello, and welcome to Millennial Anti-Terrorizers. And today we're going to be talking about PTSD while traveling in any way whatsoever, period. And my name is Nolan Cochran. I was in the United States Marine Corps as an 0331, which was an infantry machine gunner. Brody?
My name is Jared Brody, United States Army, 19 Delta Cavalry Scout.
Name's Alex Romero. I was in the Marine Corps, 3531 Motor Transportation.
And I'm Beth Chumbley, also Marine Corps in 3531 Motor Transport Operations and Fuels.
All right, go ahead, Beth. Why don't you start off? And this is pretty much your program today. So go ahead and
Yeah.
start.
So, PTSD in driving, that's always kind of been a issue since since I've been out, never so much being in. So, being motor transport operator, I've always driven just for supply, always kind of helping pick up in Iraq when it came to the invasion and just kind of cleaning up the area. Always was such a good driver, never really had any issues while being in. It was coming out of the military and being exposed to civilian life and the new way of, I think, people were driving. So I was in Colorado when I went back home after the military in 2011. It was around Christmas time when I had kind of come home. And I thought it was just the holidays at first. People were kind of crazy, just driving, really reckless. I didn't think much about it. But as time started to kind of go on, I started to notice this was a now new norm coming out into civilian life where people were very reckless around me. And so in my head, I had to go back to my roots of the military and how they taught me how to be aggressive in my driving when people were like this in Iraq, how to dodge them or brake check them or just run over them, whatever it was. And that ended up causing more problems for me mentally because I was living in that fight or flight moment when it came to driving. I saw myself being more aggressive as far as not tolerating people, whether they were going too slow. They weren't signaling. So I saw it as a threat. So I would instigate the initiative of, oh, I'll cut them off or I'll show them. I'm like, oh, you want to brake check me? I'll just go around you and let you try and hit me from behind. It was little simple things like that. And I didn't recognize it right off the bat. I was just using the training I was using. As time was going on, I was in so many car accidents to the point I ended up getting a neck injury in 2013. So I got out 2011. Now it's 2013. This was my very first car accident I was in. I had a green light, supposed to go straight through it. I remember the people in front of me that were the oncoming traffic were trying to, there's a left-hand turn lane, but there's no arrow. Well, there's a truck that tried to go first in front of me before I started driving through this green light. I avoided him because I saw that coming just through instinct in my military training, but didn't realize the person behind him was doing the same exact thing, and he ended up T-boning me. That incident is where I started having reckless driving issues. That guy hit me so bad, I ended up having a fusion on my cervical spine, C5 through 7. I still to this day deal with the issues of having neck pain, back pain, feel like pressure in my head. I'm not going to go into the that stuff, but just mind you, now I've got an injury that never was combat related, but here I'm in all these incidents outside the military and it wasn't starting to make sense. So my anger is getting more aggressive. Say like the highway in Colorado, we had a lot of traffic all the time to the point it was stop and go. Used to get very anxious being stopped in the middle of a road in this highway and cars surrounding me, but I don't see like a way to exit. So those were other scenarios to where I started feeling anxious. I don't know how to escape if I was thinking like in Iraq when we had explosions, IEDs, and somebody could just do something to you but have no escape. So these are the things going through my head during traffic, or if we're actually moving and there's just still like heavy traffic and there's a semi. I didn't like driving next to semis because I was driving a smaller car versus back in the military, we have our 7 tons. I felt safer being higher up. I have more control. So I think that's where a lot of my aggression was coming from. There's a couple other accidents where I had a truck who tried to cut me off on purpose, and I was going to go and show him to the point I ended up hitting him and was thrown into the walls that we have on the side of the highways that help with sound barriers. Was thrown into this wall, and my car was destroyed, and I was even further injured. So it was to the point, I don't know how many cars and how many car accidents I've been through, but it was finally a wake up call to knowing this was actually now becoming my fault. So moving forward, I had to really, really deep down in my deep work on my PTSD. And now that I've been working on it, I started working on it in 2018. I didn't have a car for a long time, which is really good. It helped with my driving record. Things were starting to clear up, but as soon as I got another car, it was like right back to those same patterns with myself. But sometimes it wasn't just me. I started seeing other patterns through other people in other states. Fast forward, moving to like today, I'm now living in Florida since last year, and I feel like the driving's even worse here. I've been keeping myself accountable, but I'm still in so many car accidents. Now it's not even flight or flight. I just can't not cower down, but I cry almost to the point I panic because I have gone to jail. I have assaulted somebody. I'm on probation right now because my last incident in 2021, I drove my car into somebody on purpose because they wanted to hurt me with their car. And I jumped through the window and just, I was beating the crap out of them, screaming, "Why were you trying to hurt me?" And it was like that last straw that made me feel I cannot do this again. And now I'm now just in crying mode versus anger mode because I don't want to, one, go back to jail. Two, I can't believe I've actually physically assaulted somebody. Like I've never hurt somebody intentionally. Iraq was for a reason, even though we look at it today not being a good reason, but still, I was fighting for a cause. Whereas this time I didn't fight for a cause. It was more just because I thought I was being hurt or I don't know the word I'm looking for, not profiled, but just intentionally being treated poorly and looked at as like I was the weapon. I ended up going to court. I ended up having so many legal battles, and that all started November 2021. I got 3 years probation for this. I've never been to jail in my entire life. I've always been a good driver. I have parents that were police officers. They taught me how to drive aggressively, not the military at first. So I had to break those habits that my parents in the military has taught me, and I've had to change my patterns so I could be more accountable for myself. Not saying I'm still not in these car accidents, but I had to take accountability for myself and how I reacted to these situations. I still struggle to this day. I still have mental issues when I get on the road, but I have now moved into so I was living in Gainesville, Florida. I moved to the outskirts of that city to avoid more traffic issues, the aggressive drivers. I've done better since I've moved. I've actually have not had any incidents in a couple months. I'm very happy for that. But at the same time, I'm still able to stay calm, collective, and still accountable for myself, just in case there's something. And I'm not saying there hasn't been anything. There's still issues where people tried to do things to me, but I just slow down, I pull over, or I just let them do their thing. And I don't ever initiate the rest of the aggressive situation that's happening.
Beth,
How
what
to,
what are some of the new things that you're trying now that you're being in a rural area that's also helping you? Like, are you trying any new techniques since your 2021 assault and issues since then when you really started, seeking help with different things? And what did you learn since then? Kind of
I
deal
had to
program.
remind myself, yes, of course. I had to remind myself I'm not in a war environment. These people are intentionally out to get me. the mindset of our civilians today, not all, I don't like to target everybody, but a lot of them today are inside their own head thinking, oh, I could do whatever I want. They're not taking accountable for their more like situational awareness. They're more focused on where they need to be, what they're doing. They're on their cell phones. They're not signaling. I just don't see it here in the state. Like nobody signals to let you know where they're going. I've seen more damaged cars here, so that makes me think, okay, I need to be careful around certain people like that because it makes me think they're not a threat, but I could see them being that type of person. They're just very careless in their own driving themselves. So I've taken initiative, say like I'm a rear view mirror driver. I know me and Nolan have had this conversation and I've caught myself. So if I catch myself doing that, I flip the mirror up so I don't visually see them. I did this the other day because I start to think panic because they'll be close to me by law, but in my eyes, I see them as being too close to me as like I don't want them like 2, 3 car lengths behind me when we're going like 55, 60, for example. So I just flip it up. I avoid seeing them, even though I know they're there, but I'm not constantly scanning back and forth to my mirrors and like just thinking, okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to pass me? Are they going to do this? I just take myself out of that situation and I start either putting positive music on for the good, like vibrations that we get through our neurological system. I need positive outlets like that while I'm driving. Sometimes self talk is another thing. I talk myself down. Don't worry, Beth. We're not in a hostile situation. You're safe. They have just as much the right of way to be there just as much as you are on the road too. So I have to kind of do these self-talk downs, reminding myself I'm not in a hostile situation. You're okay. So I need to address it if that becomes a situation, and that's when I take precaution of how I handle
Right.
a
Right.
car
And
accident.
what they're doing with tailgating you is they're trying to get you to go faster. And a lot of us do that when somebody tailgates us, we go faster. And I don't do that anymore because it's reckless driving. I'm pushing my car to the limit because everybody already does like 3 to 4 over the speed limit, if not five. So I figure there's like three types of category of drivers, okay? You have your slow ass drivers, your grandma, somebody's with the load, whatever. And that's fine. You know, those people, they have the right to be literally doing the speed limit because they're literally probably doing the speed limit. And then you have everybody that's doing 3, 4, 5 miles over the speed limit in herds. And then you have all the rest of them, which I understand people might be in a hurry or something like that. But these are the people that then now doing 10, 15, 20 over, or even worse, they're fucking somebody with a new toy and they're doing like a lot more than that. And I mean, rarely do I see them anymore, the people doing 100 or anything. But people are doing 15 over, I think is way too excessive. You know, when 5 or 6 is fine, because cops start pulling you over around 7 miles over, 6 or 7, you know, depending on the area, right? And now, are you seeing a difference in the people giving you a little bit more space in the rural areas than when you were in the metropolises?
Yes, definitely a lot more. Not always. I mean, still there. I'll get like a convoy of cars behind me who all want to go fast, and I let them all pass me. But because I'm on a safer road versus like the city where it's not like where I can go anywhere, and it's like, yeah, I feel like it's okay for them to pass me. It's like at least I know they're gonna still go fast. They're getting out of my way. But in the city, when they're tailgate me and to the point they're so close, say like at a stoplight, for instance, it makes me nervous because I remember having past experiences where people behind them would hit them and they would push their car into me. And it's like, it's that trickle effect. I've seen this. It actually happened in the military, but my car was fine. But still, those are the things I take precaution of. I've been taught from my grandfather on my mom's side of the family to look ahead, not the car in front of me, but ahead of them, because they may not be paying attention either. And I want to make sure I see the traffic ahead of me braking so I know to brake in advance before the original car in front of me does it. So that way I have a longer gap. So I'm judging things around me a little differently versus following the flow of traffic, which I used to do that. I used to always go with them. when I got this new vehicle, my cruise control was the biggest feature that I needed for myself as accountability reasons too, but also because I have now tremors from all the anxiety I've come across with driving and other personal stressors. So I use my cruise control all the time now, even if it's in the city and we're just going 30, as soon as I hit the speed limit, cruise control. So that way I know I'm doing the right thing, not just because of the law, but I know I'm doing the right thing for myself as well. I'm taking that accountability to know I'm doing the right thing.
Right, right, right.
It's like that.
What about so like for me, you know that circle that goes around Denver? I can't remember what road it is, but when I was driving on that, I started realizing every time I'd get on that, I would have really bad anxiety. And at one point, they actually introduced HESCO barriers, and I started realizing all those cement barriers that they have along the roads were kind of getting me anxious, and I didn't even realize what was going on for a long time. But do you have anything outside of just drivers that affect you?
I mean, when people are very hostile because they don't know how to control their emotions, it sometimes their energy resonates back into me, and I could feel myself inside getting a little hyped up, like the heart beating, your mind's a little racing. Okay, I'm like, is this? I'm scanning them and I'm analyzing them. Are they a threat? Is this person the threat, or are they just going through something? So that's been very hard for me. I'm doing like a lot better now, but before I used to see people that talk to me a certain way, and I'm like, are they a threat? Like, what's wrong with them? Why do they talk to me this way? Blah blah blah. Whatever it is, I was like, I thought people were just always bad and mean to me, and it wasn't the case. It's just our way of being programmed in the military versus being out is so much different. It's almost like having to reprogram my mind to thinking, okay, this is my new environment. How do I adapt and overcome to this new situation? So I started learning everybody's got their own sort of depression or anxiety. So I'm like, how can I read that they're not a threat versus they are a threat? And those are the things I had to look for. So just like being in the military and boot camp, everybody's very loud, but they're not angry. We're just command and presence is what we used to call it in the Marine Corps. And that's what I used to use. I might be loud, but I may not be angry. I'm just trying to get my voice out there. And so that's what I started reading about people. They're not angry, they're just being loud. Now, anger, meaning like they start attacking me verbally or physically, that's when I started to assess and be like, okay, now you're trying to target me. My walls start to go up and I start thinking, do I need to look for a weapon? What do I need to do? What are their hands doing? What's their eyes doing? I'm like doing these little assessments to making sure they're not coming after me. As long as they're staying in their bubble or their lane, I'm okay. I'll usually just kind of smile it off like, okay, you're just getting hyped up for nothing. I'm better minded this now versus back then where I would like instigate it and actually argue with the person. So those are the things I look for, not just in driving, but also just in natural communication with another person as well.
Um, uh, Brody, were you talking about like
The I-70.
planning your routes? Are you planning your routes? Is that what you're doing there?
Hmm.
Was that what you, because you were talking about C470, right? The toll?
No, 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 not the toll. It's just around every city they have like a highway that goes all the way around the city.
Yeah,
And
C470, I-70 on the north end, and then you have well, there's you have to take the E470 on the east side around Aurora. Are you talking about the E470? That because that's the toll, and then you have C470, which goes the loop around Lakewood and Littleton, and then you have to take what is that I-25 if you're going straight through Denver, but there's not really a non-toll going through Aurora and Centennial and something else. Parker.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
that one too.
maybe it all went toll. I know they were working on toll
It is
roads,
now
but
when I had left.
oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't
last
when
year.
I
It's
was
starting to
doing
all
it.
become toll now. They're starting to charge everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
but just the head, like I remember at one point they were doing all that construction and they actually added HESCO barriers instead of just those like T looking like upside down T just cement things that they put in the
oh,
middle of highways.
Okay.
But
Cement
those,
barriers, yeah.
yeah, the cement barriers, but those like kind of mentally affected me. And even if the road was empty, I would still start getting anxious and I had no idea why. And then when I seen the HESCO barriers that one time, it like clicked, you know? I'm like, holy shit, every time I drive this road, I'm seeing those and it's kind of like input that I didn't pay attention to before, but it reminds me of the stuff that we did. And
Exactly.
it I just realized, it did affect my anxiety, and so I started taking back roads the entire time. I would never take the interstate ever again.
Yeah.
Did
That that makes sense because he talks about planning. I have to plan my routes now. I haven't been on the highway since I kind of moved here. And there's never been a reason to take it anyways, unless I'm when I first came into Florida. But again, back roads, I use my GPS all the time. There's certain roads I know not to take now because it's a lot of there's like these main intersections down in Gainesville. I don't use the word avoid, but I
intersections?
try not to
Yes,
take them unless I
intersections.
have to go through it, say like to the VA or something. But I will not go through this specific intersection because it's so discombobulated and there's people running red lights because the lights are so short or people are not paying attention. Like it's a bunch of students too because the college is down there for the University of Florida. And I'm like, the college students, I'm not gonna lie, are probably the worst drivers than the rest of the people in the city. And I had one the other day, like I think I wasn't driving. I was actually with my neighbor and we were driving and this white car was speeding, whipping in and out. And as soon as we caught up to them because they start slowing down, their heads down in their lap the whole time. And we're like, why are they backing down? And all of a sudden they would just take off again and then whipping out of traffic. It's like, wow, why is this necessary? But I'm just like, thank God she's driving because I'm like, that's another thing. Actually, let me bring this to your attention. That was actually new for me because I have not driven. I'm usually the one that drive. So it was a challenge for me to see that, but also keep my composure around these people that I've probably never seen crazy before. And
Alex, you were Motor T also.
I'm like, what do
How's
you
your
go through, bud?
PTSD driving back in the States or driving when you were overseas?
For me, it's um, everything you keep your eyes and minds out for on IEDs and ambushes and shit like that. So every time I see construction, trash, a dead animal, fucking you name it, it from the books of training, dude, it throws me off. I even have it at a point where if I have someone driving with me and I don't fully trust them, I don't allow them to drive. I'm the only one who drive. I am either drive my, if I gotta have someone drive me somewhere, then it's, I'll ask my cousin or something like that. But I got a friend who kind of just fucking doesn't know how to drive and likes to just make everything his business. And he put me in a situation one time. I bitched him out in the car. I was like, "You don't ever fucking do that again with me in the car. Do you want to do that on yourself and follow someone and fucking drive up all close to them, dude? That's your prerogative, dude. Don't ever fucking do that with me in the vehicle again, because I'll be the one who kills you, not the person in the vehicle. Because you're putting me in a situation, dude, where my flight or fight instincts are fucking growing. And it's not just from the military too. Growing up in Southern California, you pull some shit like that, you be lucky. You're asking for a fucking group of fucking gang members to fucking stop you, pull you out, drag you out of your fucking vehicle, put about 20 rounds through your fucking face, another 50 through your body, and dump you and cut you up into pieces and dump you in the fucking desert, dude. You think I'm fucking playing?
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
fucking
So
place I
like
come from. So I
it's
got on this dude's ass on
yeah.
shit like that. So, and I let him know, like, dude, that big thing you did, fucking any little piece of trash, bricks piled up. I just went down that whole list, you guys, that we went through in training on stuff. I was like, dude, you're through so many fucking red flags, dude. You got my PTSD acting up high level now. So that is why I'm
Right.
bitching you the fuck out. And I told him, like, this is why I'm bitching you out, dude. Take it for what it is because you're learning something here, dude. Like, if I've known this dude for such a long time. I'm like, we've known each other for such a long time, dude. But that slips your mind every single fucking time I'm in the vehicle with you. So for me, it's a thing on not just the environment around me, but who's in the vehicle with me. If I'm the one that's not driving, I I'm already my PTSD is rising up. And then so depending on who I'm driving with and who's driving me, it's just like it if it stays there or if it just goes back down, you know?
Right. So do you get any panic attacks with certain drivers or going to certain places? Like, for instance, if you have to go to an airport like Denver International Airport or something like that, or the Denver Zoo, where you got to go deep into the city and where they have the one-way streets and but it's 4 lanes across on the one-way streets.
Sometimes, like I said, like it depends on what's around. If there's like
Yeah.
construction going, it kind of makes me feel certain way. Some vehicles I see, like I never seen anything in Afghanistan that would be alarming as a vehicle wise coming towards us as we were driving in a convoy. But like I said, when you've been trained on all the scenarios, the situations, the things that have happened, you're still kind of like iffy on things. And so for
Right.
me, it's really mostly like I was saying, just like if I see signs like I said, like a dead animal on the side of the road, construction going on, and this one random place there's a pile of concrete or bricks just piled up. It's more stuff like that than it is other drivers. Unless I'm in like the passenger lane and I'm driving with someone who's already displaying like dude, you're kind of tripping me out right now, and I'm relying on you to get me from here to here in this distance.
So it seems like, okay, it seems like mainly is what we have is the training that we got on looking for dangers, whether it be intersections, debris, traffic, yahoos always driving like assholes in that area, which always makes it a high priority to keep a head on a swivel. And the other one is mainly respect. So courtesy, common courtesy gives you 3 vehicle lengths. Around 3 vehicle lengths is there. I mean, if somebody's going to cut in, you back off to 4 or 5, so you really give them enough space to get in. But that's once again everybody using common sense courtesy with flashers, letting them know a couple 100 yards out, kind of thing, staying off each other's asses, and that's why the number one way to fight an insurance claim is to get rear-ended. Like, there's you have people pull in front of semis and brake check them all the time. And so now it's becoming a big hassle with individuals doing these things. But like we were talking about, Beth, was being a rear view mirror driver and where you spend 20% of your driving looking in your mirrors.
Yes, because that's
That's
my habit.
excessive.
It is.
We all do it because in the Marine Corps or the Army, with that, whatever it is, when you're patrolling, tell in Charlie, what do? You look behind you. Make sure
Watch your
fucking
six.
everybody's looking at their 6. Everybody's supposed to be doing a 360 on the patrol to make sure the guys behind them didn't get knifed. Everybody's doing the 360 except Point. Point's the only one that really, can't really be focusing on somebody behind them. And then your second is on his right, and then the third is on his left. And pretty much even those 2 guys got to turn around and make sure, hey, did the fucking team get knifed up behind me because somebody wasn't doing the 360? So we drive with 20% or more looking in our mirrors, which is not good at all. The 3 parts of the herds that one should be in is the one in the middle at 3 to 5. The problem is when you go to Florida, California, or some other state, it's not 5 over, it's 15 over.
Right.
I've seen that in California, and I thought, dude, everybody's going to get pulled over, and sure as shit, there goes the sheriff, and he's like not even, or no, it's a highway patrolman. and he didn't pull anybody over in California. And this was by like UC Davis area where it's like 6 lanes on one of the highways.
Yeah.
And there was nobody there really at this time of day, so it was kind of like everybody hauling ass. And it's like even the fucking CHP guy doesn't give a fuck. Everybody's doing 15 over. 15 fucking over. It was 55. Everybody was doing 70. I was doing 60. And I'm just like, this is fucking nuts. Like, why don't they just change it to 70? But they probably can't because of rush hour times, right? It just made fucking asinine sense.
Right.
No respect or common sense or courtesy when someone drives. Now, let me ask you guys this. Alex, I want to hear you first. And then Beth and then Brody. Do you see two types of categories of people where it's fuck you, my time's more important than your life kind of concept, fuck yous, in rich or poor neighborhoods? Which one do you see it more in? Or middle class? Middle class, rich or poor neighborhoods. Think of the category of individuals.
I was gonna say middle class actually, because lower class, they value their vehicles more because they know if something happens, they're screwed. Rich people, I mean, I'm not around them enough to know, but I feel like they have more of a common sense because they're like, dude, that's a lot of money, but yes, I could buy another car. But something about the middle class is a little entitled to their driving skills, and they just kind of
Upper middle class, lower middle class.
it's kind of like maybe upper middle class. Like I say, it's this
Upper
college
middle
students.
class.
It's usually where I'm always at, especially Denver. It's always them because it's like they don't pay attention. I feel like a lot of these people have not been through something to really understand the experience that what they're doing is going to cause the problems. And that's where I think when you go back to the police officers, because I've seen it here in Colorado, is like they're almost picking and choosing what battles they need to fight, and they're picking the bigger battles and not the drivers. So then it stirs my head up, like, why the heck are we not solving this problem if they're breaking the law? But yet I understand why they don't, because they have other things they have to address because they're so unmandated.
Right,
so that's
right.
where I get anxious and want to solve the problem, and that's where I used to get hyped up and want to do something to them on my own, military instincts to solve the
Alex,
problem.
Beth thinks upper middle class. I think upper middle class also. What kind of category of neighborhoods have you seen? Like even on I-25, you can see where the mentality of the traffic changes.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's not in the fucking classes of it's all these these refugees.
No, like
all these people
neighborhood,
from Somalia, dude.
you see
Like,
it in certain areas and neighborhoods. Like
out here a lot since the a lot of the Somalians had been moving into the region over here. Like ain't none of them know how to fucking drive. So out here in the sticks, it's a lot of third world foreign populace coming in where they don't have vehicles or driving, and then they get a license like that. They get behind the wheel and boom, topple into someone's business, into someone's house, hit 2-3 people, hit a trash can or something. Not so much since like nowadays, but when I first moved out here, I was like, yo, dude, you got like half of Fort Morgan being renovated for shit. You guys coming up in the world or what? And I was so laughing. It's all these Somalians, Nigerians, people from Africa where they don't have vehicles. They come here, they don't even get
Are
given
you
a
talking
driving test.
about? Are you referring to the 20,000 Somalis JBS bring in the late 90s into Greeley area? Are you referring to those
I think so,
individuals?
because this was
Yeah.
like 2000s. So when I came
Yeah.
out here to when I moved back out here to Fort Morgan in 2013, all the people that had moved out here from Africa had only been here for like a few years, and they said, yeah, dude, they've been, that's why the bank's got a whole brand new front area, and they got plastic sheets covering it because they drove right through the freaking lobby of the bank. And then another one is like a slew of stores. Like one's a liquor store on one corner, a Mexican restaurant, another Hispanic store.
So you're
And
saying
about
foreigners
four
are the worst
stores in
drivers?
total.
Okay.
And they
No,
had, again, that was another one that they plowed straight into the front window door of the business, and that one was being
Right.
reinvented. There was a couple other places like that too, and I was like, what the hell, dude?
What
And
what
so when
about
I'm
you?
looking at, yep, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, what about you, Brody? Because I'm just trying to get everybody's opinion real quick on
Yeah.
on that specific topic. Where do you see the worst drivers when you're driving in areas in your within 20, 30 miles of your house?
It'd just be foreigners in town right now. They're barely still figuring out how to work their vehicles and shit and get them
Okay.
tuned up and stuff.
What about you, Brody?
See, I don't think it's ever like classes because I can't tell who the fuck it is. Like if there's a Honda Civic, I don't know if they're rich or poor. I don't
No, the
fucking care.
neighborhood,
But
the neighborhoods.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, is there certain areas where people are not and people are? You know.
I, to me, it's more of just population. If there's more population in the area, it's always going to be worse. I mean, like
Right,
even here,
right.
I live in West Virginia now, and I mean, like it's like 10 miles from town of one lane road. And I mean, no, I'm not talking about like two cars can go by. No, like you have to pull off into the
Yeah.
ditch to let the other person through. And so everyone is super courteous, but then every once in a while we get, that asshole that rides your ass or comes down the road like 20 miles over the speed limit. And so I, I, I don't think it's more of class. It's like Denver area or even Loveland or just anywhere you go that's near a bigger city, I find that to be the worst place.
Mhm.
Okay. So you remember Denver and maybe even Loveland where the bad drivers were, but not so much in Johnstown at that time, right?
Oh yeah, Johnstown was really pleasant until I mean they had like so many apartments and homes that they were building, and that's actually why I moved out of there. And then Bucky's moved in right on the road, and I
Right.
mean it blew up, and all of a
They're
sudden we
putting the
had bad
Murdochs,
drivers.
the King Supers, they put it all in there right by where your house was. Yeah,
Yep.
no, I have a little bit of different opinion. I've been in 18 car accidents. Only two were my fault in Wyoming. The last car accident that I caused was in 2007. The first one was 2006. And I last car accident I was in, I broke my back, and luckily I broke it in the right spot where the doctor said it will. Or let me rephrase it. I fractured my L5 vertebrae, and it was a compound fracture, or compression fracture, whatever they call it. And I just got done with the VA appointment, literally, freaking. What was it? 45 minutes before I broke my back.
Right.
And I was talking about the stress over driving because I did over 30,000 miles in Iraq in a gun turret. And I just can't handle it with people not having common courtesy of staying off your ass, waiting till a good stretch to pass you. Like, if you come up on a good stretch and you're gonna get passed, slow down, pull over to the right as much as you can. Give them all the room just to see that there's something there, there's something not there, kind of concept. That's common courtesy. If somebody's riding my ass and they want to pass me, and I come up on a straightaway, I'm gonna give them a little break and let them see what's ahead of me, so they don't get killed. They don't try to pass me and run me off the road and go throw back over. So the worst driving that I've seen is the upper middle class, and I'll tell you where. Windsor's where I got hit. Okay, my kid's bus stop was up there, so that's the only reason why I was up there. And the lady just bought a $500,000 condo. You know, upper middle class, brand new. Condo was built within the year. Her husband owned a business. Her and her husband owned a business. And the worst driving that I almost got hit multiple times was it wasn't Sixth in Fort Collins, but what's that one south of that toll station or that way station? That road right there, Harmony. I
Oh
think it's
yeah, there it
Harmony
is.
or whatever it is, right? The stretch between Windsor and Harmony, People drive 100 miles an hour because they're so close to home. They're like within 10 miles of their home. They're driving their Mercedes, their BMWs, and these cars can do 100 miles an hour no problem. And it's like, what the fuck's going on? And this is the funniest part why I know it's upper middle class. The only service vehicle that almost killed me was the Audi service dealership fucking out of Fort Collins. They had a service van and somebody like rear-ended somebody up ahead. So there was like 6 cars stacked up, stopped. And he didn't slow down. He sped up to pass the person to cut him off to get off on that exit right there at Harmony or whatever it was. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I got kids in the back seat, and my kids were under like 3 years of age. When we got in the car accident, my daughters were 4 and 5. So I mean, it almost killed my kids. Like, and it wasn't my fault. It was a head-on collision. I was in my lane. There was guardrails in between. It was right there between Johnstown and Windsor on that where the rail bridge crossed. Brody, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah.
And freaking, like it was just bad. I haven't been in any accidents since 2017, but I mean, it's to the point to where like Brody and Beth and even Alex, to where you kind of live out in the boonies. I now live out in the boonies. I refuse to live in the city. I refuse to go up there as much as possible. I put it upon my wife to do not half of it, you know, because I'm fully retired now. But I mean, I make her do as much as I can, and she gets a little upset about it. But I have to do all the night driving. And I swear, I feel like it's people that says, fuck you. My time's more important than your life or your money or your car or whatever. Like I have money, you know, time's important to me is how I feel it. And then younger people, of course, because
Yeah.
they're not,
Yeah.
they have no kids to worry about. They have no spouse to worry about, you know, to nag them over a fucking car accident or whatever. You know, they'll just move back in with their mommy.
Yeah. But see, that was the whole issue with that friend of mine I was telling you guys about. Is like, dude, you might not have anything going on with your life. It's because you ain't working, you ain't living anywhere. You burned every bridge with every family member and most of the friends you have, dude. And you're trying to burn another one, and it's like you know, kind of like what do you do at that kind of state? You know, you're trying to explain to someone this is how you can fix yourself and change shit. It's a
Right.
mentality thing, dude. It's like you were saying, like I'm better than you. I got somewhere to be, you know, or you don't just you plain just don't give a fuck, dude. If you don't give a fuck, then that means you don't really care about the lives that you're transporting around in your vehicle. So therefore, I'll never, no longer ask you for a ride or accept one from you, dude. This is like the third strike on the driving instance with
Unless
this
they
guy,
gotta
and I'm like,
poop.
nope.
Unless they gotta poop. I've seen those bumper stickers. Apology for my driving. I have to poop. I would so get that bumper sticker because I don't drive recklessly or aggressive anymore, but I will drive recklessly or aggressive if I gotta poop. You know what I'm saying? That's a
Yeah,
mulligan.
That's a funny.
Right? What
No.
about you, Alex? Do you think that's a mulligan?
Yeah, I mean, like if I see the vehicle turn down the road heading towards the hospital, and they're like, you know, I'm trying to get someone bleeding in their out of the car, or like, yeah, you see them hop out and they're running and they got the brown stain, then it's like a shit.
Flashers,
Do I
right?
now do I
Flashers, yeah.
feel bad for being
Because you're
mad
supposed to
at
turn
the
your flashers
guy
on, right?
and chasing him here to bitch him out because he's like literally shitting himself on the go into the store trying to get to the dookie spot, man. So it's just like pull into a spot like you're gonna chew him out. You see the brown stain on the back when he runs out. You're like, he's
Oh,
already got,
Like you
you
can
know, he's
carry
already
on.
been, yeah, he's already been punished somehow before. This is why he's like, I got, you know,
Actually, I got a story. The other day when I was really sick, I was on my way to the hospital. So the other day my power was turned off. I know I talked to Noel about this. I was really hyped up over that to the point I was really sick. I know I was driving and I was driving reckless, but not like so reckless it was like almost unsafe. I was still just driving faster, is what I mean by reckless. There was this girl on this scooter and she was going under the speed limit and kept like trying to get in front of me when I was trying to get to the hospital. I was like trying to go around her, like, because I was really struggling. Like my leg was shaking real bad and I was kept throwing up in my lap. But those are those type of people when you're trying to get somewhere in a hurry because you're having an emergency, they don't want to let you go. And yet this woman is on a scooter, no protective gear, no nothing. She was signaling, she was running stop signs. And then when I went to go ahead of her, she tried to cut me off. And I was like, you're going to die just because I'm trying to get to the hospital. And I was like, that scares me because I don't want to hurt somebody, but at the same time, I'm trying to get myself to the hospital, and it's just like those are the people I can encounter.
Did you
Like
have your flashers on? Did you have your
I
flashers
did,
on?
I kept flashing. It
Then
was
what the
nighttime
fuck?
too, so I kept flashing her with my headlights, and she just kept brake checking me. I was like, I would hit you and run you the fuck over. I have to get to the hospital. I'm like, something's wrong with me. I was like, get the clue. But that was just one incident. But going back to Alex's statement, I've driven with that guy back in Denver I used to stay with when I was homeless, constantly aggressive in all of his driving. And all he says, nobody knows how to drive. I'm from New York. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't know how this guy's not been in a car accident or pulled over, but it was to the point I got out of the car one time and I was in tears, throwing up on the side of the road. And some like sidecar is like, do you need help? I was like, no, this motherfucker just can't drive. He's going to kill us. And he's got his little girl in the backseat of the car, too, mind you. And he's just nothing but rage every time he gets in his car. And it's like, you should not even be touching the wheel. And yeah, I would have panic attacks every single time I got in the car with him. And he's been hit rear-ended, but it wasn't his fault. But I remember getting hurt. He was more concerned about his daughter, which is fine, but never checked on me. And I still have injuries because of that car accident, and he never even tried to help me. So it's those little things too that kind of irritate me. And he's veteran. He was Army veteran, and you would think he would understand, but yet he was so focused in his own mindset, he didn't even care about the people in his car or around him. And that's where I would get triggered so easily. And I would literally scream at him, please slow down. We're going to die.
Right. I mean, some guys are just idiots. I remember this guy. I'm not gonna say his
No
name,
common
but like
sense.
I was in the gun turret. We were coming back at nighttime, and we went from dirt to hardball, and like there was like gravel, like the first 100 yards or 50 feet or whatever it was in between the two kind of sections, like to knock the dirt loose or whatever.
Mhm.
And this motherfucker, instead of gunning it, he fucking slammed on the brakes. And I got ejected from the turret. Luckily, the spindle on the 50 wasn't too tight down. So the 50 just swiveled with me and I kind of like held on to it. But boy, oh boy, man. He's lucky I couldn't kick him at that point because I started kicking the windshield. Because I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get in a fight because you're just going to go to the brig. You're going to get NJP'd. They're going to take a month's pay. You know, like, I'm not doing that bullshit. But I was like, he's just fucking around. And he said, oh, sorry, I thought I was hitting the gas. Like, no, they were, that's their little initiation. Like, come on
Yeah.
now, you're going to fucking eject me from a Humvee just to see if I'm holding on to the gun? Fuck
Like,
you.
yeah, that's asking for a death sentence.
But he's got his kid in the car. That's just ridiculous and shit. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. What about
Oh,
you, Alex and Brody? You ran into like old vet buddies and they drive like idiots. It's like, all right, never mind.
yeah. You're more fucked up than I am.
Yeah, I
Thank God I
can't
got
let
issues.
anyone drive. Like I've let my wife drive a couple times and she goes like maybe 6 feet from the car in front of her. Like she'll be doing like, like 10 over and she'll just pick a random car and then all of a sudden it's like a magnet and she can't like
Yeah.
help herself but drive that fucking close. And so for a while, I just kept my head down and I wouldn't even look out the windows because it was so
Yes.
stressful. Um, but then I just had to tell her, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I have to drive 100% of the time. There's no way I can ride as passenger.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you
That's
do
fair.
you
That's why I walk around town now. I don't even drive anymore. I don't even ask people for rides. I just when I got to go somewhere. I got to go to work. It's 10 blocks down the road. I walk.
We've been hit by cars walking and on my bicycle there in Fort Collins, Colorado, when I had lost my car. So I would be on I wouldn't go in the bike lanes. I would do the sidewalk just because I didn't want to get hit by cars driving, and I would still get hit by cars because they would pull out of like these businesses and they would pull in front of the sidewalk where I was driving and would hit me every time. Oh, I didn't see you. I'm like, and then there's the stop sign way back there. I'm like, you have to stop, look, and then roll up. I'm like, you just hit me while on a sidewalk. I was hit so many times on my bicycle or just walking. It was insane. I was like, I don't know whether to come out of my house now. Oh my God.
Well, it's cops really need to start being petty about it. I'm sorry, but people need to
No better.
stop. I
They're no
mean,
better.
there, there's a common speed of speeding over, but when it's raining or it's snowing or something like that, a lot of people obey the speeding law. Like, I'm sure you guys noticed in Colorado, the first snow of the year, the first few snows of the year, everybody's chill. And then the last snow of the year, everybody's like, "Wow, fuck that shit. I'm doing 5 over the speed limit, bitches."
Right?
Right.
I get it. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so
What do
I've
you
told
think?
myself, even though it's still hard to drive, I have to keep doing it because it still helps me learn. Because I can't learn to drive if I'm not driving. And this is what I've told my counselor. Even though I still don't like it, I have to keep doing it to keep training my brain that it's gonna be okay, even if something happens, that this is
Yeah.
my only means of getting around. So those are the harder parts that I've had to condition myself to. Like I can't learn to be
And the
better if I'm
VA,
not doing it.
the VA or the medical field offers drugs for this. The problem is the drugs for anxiety, you can't operate a motor
Yeah.
vehicle.
I have to take
Yeah.
mine at nighttime.
So you get the drugs that they give you, and it's just like, okay, fucking get back. Like, what do I do now? I'd
I
rather have
almost
a
crashed a
bourbon
car
than a
falling
pill.
asleep. Yeah. I remember getting new meds in the military one time, and I almost fell asleep on my way to work because the meds were making me fall asleep. I literally could not physically open my eyelids. I had to pull over, yeah, and fall asleep and just let myself go to sleep one time. And then I got in trouble at work. I was like, I was falling
That
asleep
sounds
because of my
so right.
meds. I couldn't do anything about it.
Oh my
It
God.
was
Yeah,
scary. I
one
thought I
of
was
them
going to
they
kill
gave
somebody.
me made me like sleep for 23 hours
Oh,
and be not sleep, but just like want to
yeah.
sleep for 23 hours. I think I probably slept for like 18 of it. And it was just like, okay, never again am I taking that one.
Yeah. Right. Um,
Hey, how do you guys feel about um those cameras? What are they called?
like dash cameras.
Yeah, yeah, dash cams. Do you think that
I love
actually
them.
like helps you?
Hmm.
Because then you have accountability not only for yourself, but also like the other drivers. Like, if they do hit you or anything like that, you kind of feel like a little bit better about it. So maybe it ease your mind that there is shitty drivers.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing. I like that because I've had incidents where I didn't have cameras and the other person won the case because I didn't have a camera because they had somebody else with them vouching for them, even though they were at fault. That's happened to me a couple times. But when I've had the cameras and they try to run their mouth, oh, they did this or that, I was like, I wouldn't even open my mouth. I'm like, here's the cameras. And that's always protected me.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling getting them right now. Obviously, it's a money issue, but I love my cameras. I did it when I had my RV too, and they would be 360 all around my RV. And that actually protected me one time when someone had actually hit my car on purpose and tried to get away. And we actually got the license plate from my cameras and they ended up going after them. And I ended up,
Nice.
yeah, starting a case on them.
It's a requirement, I think, in Russia or something like that. That's why there were so many videos of all that crazy shit happening on dash cams in Russia like 10
Wow.
years ago. And I don't know if it was like it wasn't obviously a law federally, but I think it was like one of their insurance company kind of things, like get a camera, get a deal. And I honestly think it should be like that because what was it? I think like Iceland. Iceland was a country where you had to have your headlights on it all year round. Well, now manufacturers have daytime running lights, so that way they don't even have to worry about it now because it cut down
Yeah.
accidents.
I saw a car at school one time and they had cameras on their like those little mirrors on the side of the car, the doors and stuff. So it's like they're now integrating cameras into the cars, which they should have done this from the freaking get-go because of all the accidents that are happening. Because I'm like, it protects everybody. And I think that it helped, I think insurance companies, but who knows why they don't do it now.
As long as we have full control and access of the video footage, like it's nobody's business what we're
Right.
doing until we use that, our evidence, our property, our rights. Like I'm down with that, where I got a memory stick that I put in and out and I change it. It's not Bluetooth to the internet for hackers to get,
No, I know what you mean though, but still, that should have been like integrated into car systems because of how many accidents are happening. I think it would have helped car insurance companies way more, but also protecting the person inside the vehicle if they're not at fault. Because when I was in that car accident last year with my brand new truck I had for like 6 months and that guy T-boned me, I didn't have cameras yet, but they tried to pin it on me, even though I still had witnesses. I don't know how that happened, but I had to go fight that ticket. I was like,
yeah.
everybody saw that this guy ran a red light and you're trying to blame me because of my history, maybe. I don't know where it came from, but still, that's just here or there.
All right, guys, what do you think? You think that's a wrap?
Yeah, this was real good.
All right, let's say bye to everybody. Thank
All right.
you, everybody, for
Yeah.
tuning in to
Thanks.
Millennial Anti-Terrorizers.
Yep.
Give you a knife hand.